vehicle of male prestige, warfare has always been the core of many Pacific societies. In the highlands of New Guinea, it was endemic. But just as important as warfare were the grand ceremonial exchanges between enemies that permitted a temporary end to the fighting. The Papuan warriors, the actors of these near-permanent tribal wars, were long unknown to the outside world. New Guinea, and especially the mountain range rising in the middle, was a terra incognita, and it was long believed that these highlands were uninhabited. Until a party of Australian gold prospectors ventured here in the 1930s and discovered the existence of a population of about 1 million inhabitants busily killing one another. In 1989, when this film was made, this tradition was by no means extinct. A community, every member of the tribe volunteers for combat. Young or old, all able-bodied men are there, armed with bows and arrows, spears and steel axes. Today, two clans face each other on the battlefield of Minge, somewhere in the Wagi Valley. In the background are the Konomka. In the foreground, the Kondika. Papuans love war. They derive great satisfaction from each of its stages. Stalking their enemies, organizing raids, and preparing their weapons. War is the spice of life, a source of rejoicing. These neighboring clans used to be friends, and some of them close relatives. It's even said that the two founding ancestors were brothers. But things started to go wrong after a Kondika woman died of an illness. Under the influence of alcohol, one of her brothers abused her husband, who belonged to the Konomka clan. He accused him of having ill-treated his sister and beat him to death. To avenge him, the Konomka killed an old Kondika man. And the two clans have now been at war for 3 weeks. The singing is both for stimulation and for taunting their opponents. In the Kondika camp, the warriors are furbishing their weapons. Everyone is set to work, and the younger boys take the chance to learn the basics of the job from their elders. All the members of the village have gathered here to shelter from isolated attacks and ambushes.
We
have to be cautious. Or they'll get us. If they reach here, they'll destroy everything. The young people have to look out for the enemy. We have nowhere to go, so we'll have to fight here for our lives, right here.
This is the battlefield, a coffee plantation. The Kanomka warriors take up their positions. The fighting follows a daily routine. Every morning around 7 o'clock, the warriors from both sides go to the battlefield and challenge one another until one of the camps launches an attack. Retaliation is immediate. Short periods of active struggle alternate with long pauses to allow both sides to recover, exchange abuse, and tend to the injured. And this goes on all day. At nightfall, they all return to their own camp. Arrow shots force the warriors to move all the time. War is enjoyed by everybody. It provides entertainment for those who are watching and for the warriors a chance to show their bravery. However, war is a relative term. The objective is to inflict maximum damage at a minimum loss. Actual hand-to-hand combat is not the chosen option, although it cannot always be avoided. Unlike arrows that fly in great numbers, spears are used with restraint. For hardwood spears are expensive and only parted with in the case of absolute necessity. The situation is more serious than meets the eye. 3 people died at the outset of the conflict, and since then, another 8 have been killed in ambushes. 11 victims is a heavy toll, too heavy to allow for a quick and peaceful solution to this war. Each day, 10 or so warriors are injured, such as this young man returning from combat with an arrow tip embedded in his leg. Since the Kanomka are holding the road, the Kondika are stuck in their camp, and the medical team that tend the injured can only come twice a week. Injuries caused by battle axes, arrows, and spears are often serious, but the men show amazing physical resilience and endurance to pain. This warrior will probably be back at his post tomorrow. If the authorities do not intervene in time, conflicts can spread quickly and involve thousands of men, with each of the clans at war calling upon their allies. There have been reports of skirmishes in another sensitive area, and the chief of the Mount Hagen police, the district's capital, soon arrives at the scene. As the fight is about to start, he steps in and attempts to calm the men down. Having failed to calm the situation, he decides to use tear gas. The source of this conflict was a quarrel between drunken students that ended in a murder. Vengeance followed and 3 more died. The warriors are so excited, 10 policemen are not enough to contain them. At the time this film was shot, No less than 12 tribal wars had broken out in the Western Highlands alone. A war can start for many reasons: attempting to seize land claimed by another clan, to impose domination over another group, or to avenge a blood crime. Via the networks of alliances, these conflicts may destabilize the entire region for a long time. And police intervention often merely adds a third player to a social game enjoyed by all. And the introduction in the last decades of alcohol and firearms has complicated the situation further. 3 weeks have passed. On the Minj battlefield, the Kondika and the Konomka are still fighting. The number of injured has increased dramatically, for the warriors have gone over to heavy artillery, in other words, to firearms. When a conflict drags on like this one, the warriors set about burning the houses and land of their opponents. Whether someone actually takes part in the conflict or not is irrelevant. This woman has not taken part in the war. Still, she has lost her house, her pigs, and the 40 chickens that she was about to sell.
We've lost our house, so we sleep on plastic sheets on the grass. At the moment, the weather is good, but what will we do when the rainy season comes? Still, we consider ourselves lucky. None of us got killed. We've lost everything. I'm so angry, I want to go and fight. But as I'm a woman, all I can do is stay behind and watch their moves.
The conflict has grown to such a scale that the governor of the province has come to try to end it. His intervention fails, and the war goes on. Other conflicts have different outcomes. In the Upper Mendi region of the Southern Highlands, a reconciliation ceremony is to end the conflict between the two warring clans of Mogol village. These pigs kept on a leash are part of the compensation one clan has claimed to make up for the murder of one of its kinsmen, which triggered this war. The ceremony will last 2 days. The first is dedicated to the display and examination of the goods gathered for the war reparations. If the murdered man's clan deem the offer suitable, they will accept it formally the next day. In the Highlands, pigs are the preferred currency of exchange for every transaction. The warriors of the donating clan enter the square in ceremonial dress. They are carrying a part of the reparations, some money and a python, a special delicacy. Arrows and spears remind their previous adversaries that peace is not yet concluded. By way of war damages, the victim's clan have demanded 96 pigs and 17,000 kinans, equal to 17,000 US dollars, a very large sum. The chiefs examine the offer. Banknotes are displayed in the same way as shells that use to serve as currency. They're called the same, kina. This is a kaskas, astonished to be here. And a cassowary that thinks no less. In the bush, away from prying eyes, a secret meeting is held. The value of an offered compensation rarely matches the amount demanded, and when the gap is too wide, the chiefs of the receiving clan may reject the offer and choose to continue the war. To avoid this, the chiefs of the donor clan secretly negotiate with the relatives of the murder victim and offer them what could be called a bribe to agree in public to the official amount of the compensation. One of the dead man's sons has accepted a pig and 200 kinas. Now his elder brother needs convincing.
We were like brothers before the fighting broke out. I hope this will help us to become friends again.
Paul, one of the leaders in charge of conducting the reconciliation ceremony, intervenes.
I'm going to give everything I own in compensation. What is due to you personally, I will give to you now. But I beg you, keep what happened here a secret.
Before he agrees, the man carefully examines the pig.
I am no longer angry. I accept your offer. I will come to pick it up after the reconciliation.
The war compensation is destined for the whole of the clan. As a result, the dead man's family will only receive a small share of it. Thanks to these private negotiations, they're guaranteed a more substantial amount. The day of payment has come. The governor of the province and the chief of police are present, as are 20 policemen to prevent any incidents occurring. The victim's clan enter the square first. Heading the cortege is the grandson of the murdered man. The men are unusually excited, and an intermediary attempts to appease them. The fact is, they're not satisfied with the offer. They're also angry because the compensation should have been paid 4 months ago, and they want no more delays.
We are here for the payment.
Tension is building up in the other clan too. There's a lot at stake. If no agreement is reached today, war will start again. The leaders of the donor clan try to calm the situation.
This land is our territory. If you want to fight, do it somewhere else, but not here. Accept our compensation, so we can end this war.
Everyone has finally taken their place, and the ceremony can begin. First, the estimate. Paul indicates the value of each pig, and the district administrator writes it down in his notebook.
$60. $16.
The victim's clan watch the scene closely. There is a lot to gain or lose for the chiefs of both clans, as well as for the governor of the province. All three of them, to varying degrees, derive their influence and prestige from the success of such ceremonial dealing. The governor announces the total amount of the compensation. There are only 63 pigs, not even a third of the amount demanded. How will the recipients react?
34,000. Pig, money, bell call, all get something on that. 34,180.
Their chief is far from satisfied.
When we asked you if you could afford the compensation that we demanded, you told us that you could. And this is all you have to offer. This is like asking us for peace and only offering us a meal. It is now October, and we have been waiting for over a year.
The tension builds. The suspense reaches its peak. Will the offer be accepted or rejected? One of the dead man's sons intervenes.
You killed my father. I'm not happy with the number of pigs and the amount of money you are offering. What's more, I was told that part of the payment was carried out secretly in the bush. It's dishonest.
This is too much for Paul, the leader of the clan accused. He bursts out.
Stop complaining. If you don't like it, I'll take everything back home.
The governor is eager for the matter to be settled, for he has put a lot of effort into the conclusion of this peace.
Stop regarding each other as enemies. You're only making matters worse. Even if you reject this offer, I will not put the murderer in jail.
Accepting too easily would be demeaning. The chief keeps protesting. His men are watching.
The amount of this offer is below what I'm willing to accept. This war has killed 2 men. Your compensation is not enough. And now we are being forced to accept it. If you add a few big pigs, then we will accept your offer. I know that you are hiding pigs in the bush.
The conciliator announces that they should decide quickly since a storm is threatening. To see rain damage their superb feather headdresses is, for all these proud warriors, a prospect that requires some thought. The argument has struck home.
For the love of God, we accept your offer.
The dead man's grandson symbolically receives the pigs and the money. The reconciliation ceremony is over. War and peace, destruction and exchange are, for the Papuans, equal parts of the immutable cycle that maintains balance between communities.